Welcome to Talk Design Podcast, the space where creativity meets conversation. I'm Adrian Ramsey, your host, and as someone deeply entrenched in the world of design, I'm thrilled to introduce you to the minds that inspire me in the hope that they will spark something special within you too. From a design past crafting women's swimwear to pushing the boundaries of performance sportswear, from mountaineering to international yachting, to implementing systematic innovation solutions that transcend boundaries in aerospace industry. My heart remains rooted in architecture, and exploring the emotional tapestry woven by built spaces is my fascination. My journey in design has been what can only be described as a life of design. I want to thank you for lending me your ears. I'm eager to embark on this next episode together. And for those of you who prefer to watch and listen, you can catch this episode at YouTube. That's youtube.com/@TalkDesignPodcast. My guest on Talk Design today is Brad Sugars. Now, Brad Sugars, we were just having a little laugh about this, that there's only usually 1 degree of separation between a lot of people, not 6. Brad is a serial entrepreneur. He's from Australia. He's from Brisbane originally. He lives in Las Vegas. He has multiple businesses, one of which is very well known globally. He has the world's biggest business networking coaching system for business coaching, and that is Action Coach. Brad and my circle of people have touched many times, but this is probably our second actually ever conversation. The first one was probably in about 2001 when I went to a seminar where Brad had phone books out and we were looking yellow pages and we were learning how to market businesses. And it was really fantastic. It was in Brisbane. Stuck in my memory, that's for sure. Brad, welcome to Talk Design. I'd like to say we've got a little cameo guest as well, which is Rebecca Ramsey, my wife, who has a business called Leverage Me. Anyway, we will have Becky chime in with intelligent questions. Otherwise, I'll just do the chat. Brad, welcome to the show.
Hey, great to be joining you guys, and great to see you all again. And in that small world that is Australia, that's massive unless you know everybody or are 1 degree separated. But yeah, great to be with you guys today, chatting design, more design of businesses and design of the companies, or the stuff that runs behind it. You can be a great designer, doesn't mean you run a great design business.
Isn't that the truth? And look, my audience is heavily design related, and many of them are architectural firms and interior design firms. They run with people's either solopreneurs, small entrepreneurs, in the fact that they have maybe 3 to 5 is about the most common numbers. And then it really balloons after that. And I'm sure you can drop some pearls of wisdom and some design points for businesses of that size and how coaching can really make a difference for them.
Yeah, look, it doesn't matter what size business you're in. Business is still the business of get customers, keep customers. Get customers and keep them for as long as you possibly can. Maximize the value of them. Get team members, build team members, keep team members. That's really what we're about. It's about getting people and keeping people. So it doesn't matter if you're in the design business of architecture or the design of interior design, and you've still got to get customers and keep them, and get staff and keep them, and you've got to build the customers so they become better customers over time, and build the staff so they become better team members over time. But ultimately, you've got to have a great product. You've got to have a great service. And that's where all your other podcasts come in. Today is not so much about the product or service, but about how you actually get people to buy it, how you get people to notice it. And, from a marketing perspective, back, 20 years, I think it was a bit more than 20 years ago, Adrian, when we talked yellow pages, buddy. But, back in those days, it was just put your stuff in the yellow pages and life's good. Yeah. Today, it's, what is your website? How's your blog strategy? What's your video strategy? How do you do all of these things to gain attention, gain the know, like, and trust factor, and make the sales? In this day and age, the average consumer does 70 to 80% of their research before reaching out to a firm. You know, the
Yeah,
average
wow.
consumer today, statistics today show that the average consumer, 40% of us don't even want to talk to a salesperson before making a purchase.
That's me.
I'm the same. But Amazon has trained us a certain way to do our research and buy it. Like, do you remember? I remember buying a car as a kid. We went to every single car dealership, walked the lot, got the brochures, went home, studied the brochures. Today, you do all your research online. You narrow it down to like 2 or 3 cars. You probably even build it online on the website. And if you're really like me, you just press go and you buy the dang thing. But otherwise, you'll go and do 2 test drives and that's it type thing nowadays. So the consumption is different.
Yeah.
Google put out a study recently called ZMOT, Zero Moment of Truth, because you remember the old book Moments of Truth from way back when, which talks about during the purchasing, what are the moments of truth, or doing business with you, what are the moments of truth? Well, Google says now the moment of truth is actually well before you even meet a customer. Before you even meet a customer, they're doing their research, okay? And it used to just be you'd lean over the fence and ask your neighbor who they use type thing. But nowadays you go online and you do research. Now, when you do that research, there's 1 or 2 types. There's on your phone or on your computer. Now, it's about 70% is on phone these days and about 30% is on the computer. So if I'm on my phone, and we live in a 2 or 3 screen world today, okay? People are on their computer, on their phone at the same time, or watching TV and on their iPad at the same time doing research. Well, what happens is they type in basically the same sort of things. And if you read the book, Marcus Sheridan wrote it, it's called They Ask, You Answer. He takes you through the 5 main areas that people ask about. Review of, price of, etc. Like, these are the 5 things that they type in most often in any industry in the world. So it's worth reading that to understand what sort of blog articles you should be writing today. And so when you think about someone finding you like this, well, what they're going to do from Google's research is say, on average, they're going to do 7 hours of research to make a purchase, right? Now, that 7 hours may include talking to someone or reading an ebook or watching a video or reading articles or whatever it might be. If I go to your website, though, and imagine if, Rebecca, I hit your website and all I can do is 30 minutes of research, then guess what? I'm going to bounce. I'm going to go somewhere else. If I hit your YouTube and all I can do is 30, 40, 50, do you know what I mean? Like, they're wanting a list. Now, the numbers are 7, 11, 4. 7 is how many hours on average. Bigger purchases is more hours. Smaller purchases is less hours. 11 is the number of interactions on average to make a transaction, meaning visit your website, visit your YouTube, get an email, a text message, a face-to-face, you know what I mean? Like 11 interactions. And 4 is the number of places they're going to do that, whether it's your YouTube site, your website, a face-to-face, in your office, in their building. That's the average that we are needing today to make a sale. So the amount of content a designer needs to have online today, the amount of video you need, the amount of ebooks, the amount of blog articles, and I'll give people one extra tip on that. If you're doing a blog article today, use a piece of software called Neuron Writer. Neuron Writer helps you create blogs. Blogs used to be able to do 300 words. No images. Today, you want at least 1,500 words. You want multiple links, preferably linked to a video that's your video on your YouTube channel, preferably linked to some form of infographic, or have an infographic in the article, some other photographs in the article, and definitely a frequently asked questions section at the end, which has got to be linked a certain way to make sure Google recognizes it as that. But if anyone wants to see a format of that, they can just jump on bradsugars.com. All of my blog articles are written in that format. Now, what Neuron Writer helps us do, though, is it helps us beat the market. You'll put in there who your competitors are, and it'll look up and go, okay, this person's done this, got an article that scores a 70. This person's got a 72. This one's got a 78. And you write an article that scores an 87, Google's ranking you above all of those in that marketplace. So anyway, there's just a few tips to get us kicked off.
What a great little lesson in SEO, just with something like Neuron Writer, just giving yourself an edge. I was recently at a do and somebody said, You know, you only have to, if there's a lion chasing you, you only have to beat your friend to not get eaten, you know. And in business, if times get tough or as times change, just making sure that you're a couple of steps ahead of everybody else is enough to keep you at the top of the marketplace, often not just in the
Yeah.
marketplace. Yeah.
Yeah, look, every article you write on a blog should be trying to win one keyword, and you can't write two blog articles on the same keyword because then you're just competing against yourself, which is crazy. But you know, you've got to have, let's imagine there's 10,000 keywords in your sector. Well, eventually you need 10,000 articles to win 10,000 keywords type thing. And most articles can't win more than really one or two keywords. Majority of the time you want to win one, but anyway,
Yeah,
we can
okay.
spend days. I could
Oh,
spend days
just
on that. My latest book is called Raise Your Hand Marketing. I wrote that on because most people with marketing, they don't realize the only job of marketing is to get a customer or a potential customer to raise their hand. So, you know, publish ebooks and people say, yeah, I'd like your ebook, thanks. Or do some webinar and people go, yeah, I'd like to be on your webinar, thanks. Or do you know what I mean? Like it's all marketing is today is get them to raise their hand. That's called an MQL, a marketing qualified lead. Then you've got to nurture sequence them into an SQL where they raise their hand to say, I'm interested. And then you get them to raise their hand a second time to say, can we talk? You know,
right.
it's basically I'm interested, can we chat? Like that's marketing's job. And social media today, I see too much social media just, can you hit like? Like is not raising your hand, it's raising your thumb. You don't want thumbs, you want hands.
Right.
All right. So big difference in marketing today. Stop going for likes. If you're going to go for something, you want to go for shares. Ultimately, you want to go for shares and people share things because it resonates with who they are. If it's new, if it's new and it says something that resonates with who they are, they'll share it. If it's not new and doesn't resonate, they're not sharing it type thing. That's how you create viral stuff out there in the marketplace. So
I think that's a fascinating point, Brad, with the fact that shares are worth so much to people. The other thing is that we tend to have communities we share with. So like I have all the people that are skiers that I share stuff with. I have all the people who are surfers I share stuff with. I have all the people who are business entrepreneurs who I share stuff with. And they're kind of like in different channels. Some of them cross over, but they're in different channels of what we share as well. And then if you're getting people content to share, think of how they want to share what you're telling them, I suppose, to their friends.
yeah, look, and even more than that, you've got to give people moments of sharing. So I'll give you an example. You know, actually, here's a very simple one. A buddy of mine owns car dealerships, and he has a lot of them. And I just asked him the question. I said, which of your dealerships gets the most hashtags or the most sharing or the most people seeing it type thing? And he said, I don't know. I said, well, go and find out. So he went and found out, and what he finds out from his team is that there's two dealerships of his, they're both run by one GM, that get more shares, more likes, more posts, more tags, more everything than any other of his dealerships. And I said, well, how are those two dealerships doing? He said, they're phenomenal. They're achieving amazing results. And I said, well, what are they doing? He said, you wouldn't believe it. This guy, all he did was install a curtain with a pulley system, and it's a red velvet thing. And so when someone comes to get their car, they drive it into the showroom, and the car, it's booked in every 15 minutes, someone's getting their car type thing. They drive in, they put the red thing over it, they bring that family out, they do ta-da, they film it, photograph it, all of that sort of stuff. If you're not giving people moments of sharing, then your business is going to struggle from a social point of view. See, people think social media is about what you post. Social media is the opposite of what most people think it is. Social media is what do people say about you. It's nothing to do with what you say about yourself. It's everything to do with what other people post about you. Like in my restaurant, I want people to take photos. So we give them multiple places. And we even have little signs that say Instagram photo spot #1. Like, you know, it's hey, if you want to do an Insta photo, this is the spot. Our cocktail menu is designed, see, here's your design word. Our cocktail menu is designed so that 3 of them are Insta famous. One of our cocktails, you put cotton candy, fairy floss, in the glass, and you pour the cocktail over it and you film it as it's happening. There's the whiskey one, which has the smoker, and you put the thing and yeah, all that stuff. Two of our food dishes are prepared at the table so that there is instant. You got to give people reasons to post. And even a simple one. Once we drop cocktails at your table, our waiters are trained with one simple thing before they ask for your meal. By the way, whose camera should I use to take a photo of the group?
I love it. Not by chance, by design.
Oh, every single time. Got to happen every single time. You want business to perform, it's got to be consistency. And what breeds consistency is checklists. Your airplane, would you like your pilot to follow the checklist on the flight you get on tomorrow?
100%. Of course you would.
Yeah, not 95% of the time or 94, because success 100% of the time is kind of important to pilots.
I think that point around consistency is probably one that a lot of solopreneurs and, small businesses, I certainly know mine, it's a struggle. One minute you're a marketing person, another minute you're a salesperson, another minute you're actually a technician doing something. It's always the challenge of which hat you're wearing at which point in time, and what you always need to be in marketing no matter what you're in. Even if you're designing something, you still got to be thinking in marketing. And then from that, I think that a lot of architects, they have like a wide reach of marketing, but they don't necessarily have a really good sales process, because there's a lot of faith in architecture. You're going to hand over a significant portion of money, for the design, and then really a significant portion of money, often with a lot of debt attached to it, that's going to build a house, if it's that sort of thing, or even if it's a building or a commercial building. There's a lot of cash flow going out, and the sale needs to be aligned to necessarily the person who I'm selling to. So, for instance, if I'm selling to you, you've got this level of income, where I'm selling to you down here at this level of income. What's the relativeness in our discussion?
Well, let's go backwards a couple of steps and start with, first of all, the different hats. When I first brought my company Action Coach here to the US, I was running in Australia, had a big team there. When I moved it over here, it was just me and one other person. But I still built a big office with, I think we had, it was either 10 or 11 desks in the office. The marketing desk didn't have an employee yet, but I only did marketing when I sat at the marketing desk. If someone called about finance, I would say, yeah, the finance person's in on Friday morning. They'll call you back Friday morning. And I would go and sit at the finance desk on Friday morning, and I'd do finance. So I try and keep myself using only one hat at a time. Now, when it comes to dealing with different calibers and different grades of customer, that's really up to a lot of your marketing and what you're putting out there in the marketplace. And you deciding what is the type of customer you want to work with. If I was in an architectural firm and I was designing my firm properly, the key to your success is actually where you say no.
Yeah.
If someone came to me for business coaching, now in the early days, I charged $2,000, $3,000 a month for coaching. These days, I have 3 clients and they're $1 million a year. If someone comes to me and says, Brad, I'd like your coaching for $100,000 a year, I say, thanks, but no. It's $1 million a year if you want to talk to me. That's what it is, because I can use that money in my own business, that time in my own business, and make that money. But I like coaching a couple of people still. So, I have 3 clients type thing. Knowing who your ideal client is really important, and making sure your marketing discourages those who are not in your ideal client range, but encourages those who are in your ideal client range to do business with you. Give you an example. A wedding venue down in Texas. They're a client of one of our action coaches, and they won a session with me, and I'm looking at it and they said, Brad, we want you to have a look at our marketing and our website, because we're getting too many people coming to us that don't have the budget for our venue. And I looked at their website and I looked at the photographs and I went, there you go. The photographs made it look cheap. It just did. They didn't spend the money on a decent photographer. They must have just taken it on their iPhone. They put it up on their website. They spent great money on their website, but it just didn't look professional. The languaging wasn't quite as professional as it should be either. If I was someone who was going to spend a lot of money, I'd look at that website and go, yeah, I'm not going there.
Yeah.
So once they upgraded the look and feel of it, then the customer went, oh, if I've only got 20 grand for a wedding, I look at it and go, yeah, that place looks way too expensive for me. You know, and the other thing is you've got to put your prices on your website, or at least a range of your prices on your website. Companies are like, oh, I don't want anyone to know my prices. Look, all of your competitors already know your prices, for goodness sake. Don't even think that your competitors don't know what you're doing. You know, you've got to be very clear with people. That allows people, because here's the craziest thing, right? One of the top 5 searches on anyone doing any research is, what's the price of X? If I go to your website and I can't find the price after about a minute of looking or 30 seconds of looking, do you think I go, you know what? It's got to be here somewhere, Adrian. I'm going to spend the next 2 hours of my life searching every single page of this site until I find the price. No, I hit the most used button on the internet. It's called back. Okay, I go back. I find another website that does have pricing, and I go, oh, these people actually put their pricing up. It makes sense now. I understand it. And yes, I can afford their price point. Here's the thing. I'll give you an example of that. You're going out to a restaurant, Adrian, and it's not with your beautiful wife, Rebecca. It's you know, back in the day when you're a single young man, and you go to, and you look up a website and you look up this restaurant, and it's a beautiful restaurant, but you can't see any prices on the menu. And you're still a young fella. You don't have a lot of money, and you think, I don't know what the prices are. I can't go there. It'd be embarrassing if I can't afford it. So you don't call, you don't go there. You find one where you look at it and you go, oh, I can afford this place. We'll go there.
And you know, you're probably working at the top of your price range.
That's the thing. I mean, if you're trying to catch a girl like Rebecca, Adrian, I know you were spending as much money as you could. You're batting way out of your league, dude. Way out of your league.
What have you got to say to that, Becky?
Well, great segue. Thank you. Can I just be a little selfish, I guess, because, you know, I'm a absolute business nut as well, and my focus is really around the people side of things. So Brad, I'd love to sort of, you know, tap you, especially because I've spent some time with some of the architects that, you know, Adrian knows around the world as well, and not unlike other business owners, they go into business in their technical field feeling really excited about that, and then they get a few team on board, and then the wheels start to fall off at some point, and when that leadership or management team leader hat needs to be worn more and more. And I often work with businesses who are now ready to put in their CEO or a COO or a GM or whatever. But, you know, what's your, I guess, your go-to for that transition that they need to make from being the technician to embracing the world of having team? Because I find that a lot of business owners resent it, but they want the results.
Yeah, look, when you first start out, and it's through our own lack of knowledge, I'll put it very clearly, through our own lack of knowledge, we end up working for them in the beginning instead of them working for us. Like, we actually reduce our takeout just so that we can pay for them, sort of thing, because technically the business could probably only afford half of their wages when you employed them, and you needed them to make up the other half. And so what happens when we first start employing people is we realize that we really haven't learned much about management, much about leadership, much about recruiting, much about training, systemization, et cetera, and we realize we've got to learn it. I wrote that book there, Billionaire in Training, to teach people that you have to go, you start out as an employee, right? That's your apprenticeship to being even a student is an apprentice employee. An employee is an apprentice business owner, but you start out at self-employed. Then you start to employ people. Well, self-employed is like a seesaw, right? Do the work, find a new customer, do the work. It's like, you know, back and forth, running and running and running. Well, then you get to employ people and you get off the seesaw, you get on the merry-go-round, you're running round and round in circles, putting out the fires they start, because there are no systems or checklists or all those things. So what Gerber taught us with his book, The E-Myth, is you got to work on the business, on creating a business that works so you don't have to. Now, part of that is training your people. Part of that is systemization. Part of that is developing the products and services so that you know what you're selling and what price points and all those things. And once you bring on team members, you have to raise your prices. Where you could compete on price without team, you can't compete on price once you've got team and overheads and offices and all of those things. You know, a professional services firm has to run on a third wages, a third overheads, and a third profitability. And if you're not running at that, then there's something wrong. I still remember my dad, I was 20 or 21 years old, and I went in and I said, hey, Dad, you know what? I just can't get good people. And my dad looked me dead in the eye and he said, Brad, you get the people you deserve. Well, what? He said, well, you're an average manager running an average company. Highest caliber employee you're going to get's average. You know, and so I was like, oh yeah, Dad's a blunt Australian man. What else are you going to get out of him? I mean, that's the facts behind it. But he was right. I had to become a better leader. I had to become a better manager. I had to run a better company. If I wanted great people to work for me, then that's a big part of it. Now, where a lot of people go wrong is they try and hire senior people first. No, hire the most junior of junior. It's like artificial intelligence right now. People are like, oh, we want to use AI to do this massive thing. No, use AI to do the very basic grunt work. If humans in your company hate it, AI will love it type thing.
Yep.
You know, they'll eat that work up. Customer service, answering the phone, AI is brilliant at that. Because here's the thing. Actually, I had a client of mine the other day. They literally have taken all of their answering the phones, answering people's questions, AI'd the whole thing. Because if they've got 160,000 product lines, right? Imagine a human trying to know 160,000 product lines. Well, an AI bot knows all 160,000 product lines perfectly and instantaneously.
And
anyway,
consistently.
And consistently. And that's a whole other thing. Now, when you employ from the bottom up, you don't regret it because they're doing all the tasks you hate. You know what I mean? That's the thing.
I'd like to thank Stetson Hats Australia for providing my amazing collection of open road Stetson hats. Since 1865, John B. Stetson has been crafting legendary headwear, adorning the heads of Western icons like Annie Oakley and George Custer. The open road hat debuted in 1937, beloved by artists, outlaws, presidents alike. Its timeless style fits the setting from city streets to open plains. Whether in the cab of a truck or my trusty Mini Cooper, the open road is all style. If you think hats aren't for you, you just haven't found the right one yet. Discover yours at stetsonaustralia.com or stetson.com if you're in the USA. Thanks, Stetson, for your support. Please share your Stetson moment by emailing me your photo to talkdesign@gmail.com. Let's celebrate the timeless allure of Stetson together.
Now, the other thing I will say in the design business, and this is different to the advice I give to a lot of companies, right? And I'll use an example. You may have heard of my buddy Peter Lick. Peter's a famous photographer, Aussie guy. He does landscape photography and that sort of thing. Now, imagine Peter Lick, best photographer of landscape architecture in the world, landscapes in the world. Imagine if he said, you know what, my company's getting pretty big. I need to become the CEO and I'll employ someone to take the photographs. Possibly the dumbest move that could ever be made in the history of business. I remember coaching Pete with that. We're just buddies, and I was coaching him, and I said, well, you need to hire a CEO. He's like, why do I need a CEO? I said, A, because you're really bad at it, and B, because if you're doing CEO work, no one's taking the photos.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you've got to remember that, and I interviewed Darren Cahill on my podcast the other day, a famous tennis coach. Sometimes you got to remember that, and Darren said it simply, he said, sometimes you got to remember people are capped at the level with which they can perform. And if you're a genius designer or a genius architect, and the reason your company's famous is because you're a freaking genius at that stuff, don't go and be CEO, employ a CEO who's a professional, who does it, who loves it, who's good at it, who's had training on how to do that. Don't learn on the job how to be a CEO. If you can go and employ one that's bloody great at it, loves doing it, and fantastic at it. So, final thing on that one, Beck, there is one key thing that has to happen for your business to grow. Every business, okay? And, you know, after 30 years of coaching companies and 30 years of interviewing our clients at Action Coach, I've asked them this question. What was the most important thing that you had to do, you personally had to do, or how did you have to change for the business to grow? One answer every single time. I had to learn to let go.
Delegate.
Had to learn to let go. And so you put out the word delegate, Beck, and that's 100% true. Most people just abdicate. They're like, hey, go and do this. I don't want to do it. Please just go and do that. No, for delegation, it's got to have a system. For delegation, it's got to have training. For delegation, it's got to have measurement. If it doesn't have those three things, you're not delegating, you're just abdicating and throwing the handball over to someone else. And, you know, you sold them the pup, they got crash tackled, and you went, see, I knew it was a hard job, I'd have to do it again. So many business people, and I did this when I was young, right? I would give the job to someone else knowing they would fail just so I could come in and be the superhero. You know, I suffered from superheroitis. I was tying my staff shoelaces for them and wondering why they couldn't tie their own shoelaces. You know, if you haven't trained them, don't expect them to do it better than you. The number of business owners like, no one can do it better than me. Of course they can't. They've had no training.
And it happens at every level of business, I notice, whether it's a junior person or the clients that I work with, you know, we put in a qualified, experienced, you know, CFO or that I'm like glue for at least 6 months with them to make sure that they don't abdicate even at that level, because the same thing applies. There needs to be a transition period, but otherwise it's just not set up for success. Yeah, I love that.
And that's also where I teach management and leadership, and we don't really have time to do it today. People can jump on my YouTube and just type in management versus leadership. But management is competency and productivity, and leadership is passion and focus. And if you don't have good management, which is really a system, and that's why watch that other video, I teach you the system of that. But and leadership is an art form. So you've got to get good at both the system of meetings and paperworks and that sort of stuff, and the art form of passion and focus to keep people moving.
And stay in your lane where the bit is that's your genius zone, right?
Well, you know, my buddy Bruce Campbell up there on the sunny coast, stay in your lane is one of his most favorite things that he teaches out there.
It sure is. Oh, that's fascinating. One of the things I think that a lot of architectural firms and interior design firms really struggle with is the fact that they are the technician, and like you just said before, they only see it through like Peter Lick. They're the one who can bring it, and they can have assistance in bringing it, you know, somebody who sets something up and does all the rest, but they're the ones who bring it. And when they're in that zone, they're very heavily in the zone that, you know, they're left alone to design. And as you say, then they abdicate most of what else is happening. The other thing is that when they form partnerships, as opposed to, say, businesses separate, you know, CEO down, they tend to go, well, you're better at this paperwork than me, and you're better at this part than me, you're more technical, so you take that role, I'll take this role, I'll take this role. And they kind of work almost as semi-siloed in those roles. So one of them, you know, they don't, I think in partnerships, maybe that happens more, I don't know. As opposed to the person who goes, okay, what team do I need? Because they join together, probably because they had a similar conversation around design, and then slightly separate skills. So they went, well, you do that, but I'll do this bit. With that, go.
We're not taught, especially in the design world. Like, I was trained to be an accountant. What part of accounting school did they teach me how to collaborate, teamwork, and work together with people? There was not a day of it in the entire thing. In the design world, you're not taught how to collaborate on jobs. But if you come up in the music world, guess what? You're taught how to collaborate on everything. I've never seen someone write a song like just sitting there by themselves. You go and look at movies these days, TV shows. How are they written? There's a group of 6 or 7 people or 3 or 4 people sitting around a table with their guitar or with their pen. You know, we're not really taught collaboration. We're taught independence, and it's like the superstar factor behind it. But if you look at other creative areas, advertising, it's a team effort. It's not a singular human's effort. And I don't know, I think somewhere in that whole becoming a business owner, wanting to do everything yourself and be known as the guru type thing. I was reading an article around super mums the other day, and it was a very interesting thing, because it was like, you know, you've got to do it yourself. You can't ask for help. And it's like, this is just the craziness of the world we live in today, where somehow we think that we've all got to have everything together and all got to be great at everything. And you know, I read a great letter from a school principal that was sent out to the parents of the kids when the school grades were coming in. He said, you know what? If your kid doesn't get an A in math, maybe your kid's meant to play sport. If your kid doesn't get an A in science, maybe they're a musician. You know, sometimes you just got to do with what you're best and fill in the gaps of the rest. But collaboration is a very big part of success in business.
Yep.
And I imagine in the design world, learning to collaborate or getting better at collaboration would assist a lot of people. But I know when I designed my house and my architects that I worked with, and I just said to them, look, every room you have to walk in and go, oh shit.
Yep.
Like it has
Not
to be
oh shit bad. Oh shit, this is amazing.
Shit. Yeah. Like you walk into my wine cellar, right? Like if anyone wants to see my pool, you go to YouTube and type in world's best pools, Las Vegas, and it was an Animal Planet TV show did my pool. But anytime, like people walk into my wine cellar and they go, oh shit. Because it's a big barreled roof. It looks like a wine barrel. All of the wall is done by old wood from wine barrels. Like every stave is a cutout old wine barrel.
Yep.
The tops of the bench, the old wine barrel tops. And so, you know, when you do things like that, I could never do that without the technical expertise of the architect. And they couldn't creatively come up with all the things because they haven't been in all the houses I've been in or the restaurants I've been in or the hotels I've been in and seen all of those things. And a lot of it is the skill of drawing out of people. You got to draw out the talent. And that's what I think. And Rebecca, you talk about, you know, you bring those people in. It's about your key skill is drawing out their talent and getting them to perform at their highest. And that sort of thing is a really important aspect of leading a team of people. I'm very clear on this with my franchise partners around the world. You know, we have 1,100 and something offices around the world in 80 countries. And I always tell the coaches that my job is to be the worst business coach in our organization. I want every business coach in my company to be better at coaching than me. Because if you're not better than me, I got to keep doing it.
You don't get to leverage yourself. Yeah.
Correct. How do I go on vacation if I'm the best one in the building?
Yeah, and like that means letting go of not just tasks but ego as well.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah, no man from Australia has ever had a problem with ego letting go. That's yet
to happen. Yet to happen.
Yeah. I've never seen that ever. Look, ego is a thing we need to succeed, but it's also a thing that can get it away. But that's like anything, you know. Two sides of the coin, everything in moderation. There's a reason these sayings become sayings because most of the time they're pretty dang correct.
Yeah.
We've got to have ego to put ourselves out there, to be willing to get on a podcast and talk as if I'm an expert type thing. But I've also can't let that ego get in the way of, you know, doing the things that I need to do, building my team up. If we win an award, I have to go, everyone, look how well you all did. Congratulations, all of you. Well done, everybody. This is your award. Well done. You know, take the failures on the chin and give everyone else the yeah, we messed up. It's not we messed up. Yeah, I messed up there. I didn't get it right. I got it wrong sort of thing. And it's part of being a leader. You know, whether you're captain of a football team or whether you're a leader of a business, being a leader means being a leader.
There's no doubt about that, is there? I mean, leadership's a completely separate quality. And even when, like, say, for instance, in the design world, when you're designing for somebody, so say I designed Bruce Campbell's house, so I know what you would like to deal with as well. And Bruce, in the sense like you're saying about your, you know, wine barrel vault and all the rest, I know with Bruce, it was like trying to tame a mad monkey at times, going, because he was the same. He's like, I want this. You walk through here and go, fuck, look at that, man. I want that, you know, and I want to walk through this door and nobody else gets to walk through this door. You know, it's only Georgie and I want that, and that's our experience, you know, and I want all this here and I want all this like this. And I was like, yeah, cool. It's like, and then to take that and actually make it into a seamless kind of environment as well, but with still these boom moments that are happening.
Yeah.
And finding spaces to relax as well as be excited in that whole thing is like, that's the understanding of where the human is at to go. So like, I'm going to have a question for you towards the very end of this podcast, which is around, you know, you and your space and how that emotionally affects you. And I think you made the point when you were talking about the restaurant, about the design of the restaurant. Now, I'm going to ask you a few more questions about that, but then also around the fact that when you started your office, you put the other desks out, and put, that's my marketing desk, that's my finance desk, that's my whatever, so that you could shift hats. And then being able to shift hats is shifting focus. And in COVID, I was asked to do a lot of different speaking, but when I say speaking, like articles and stuff on what could you do if you were locked in your apartment. Melbourne, the most locked down city in the world, and there were people.
I think China beat them in the end.
Yeah, maybe in the long term, yeah. But I don't think it was a race that anybody wanted to win. I was like, look, get up, get dressed as if you're going to work. Set up a desk space separately. If you have to set that up each morning, set it up each morning. Take it down each night. Put some plants in there. Make it more biophilic in its environment, because that's healthier for your cognitive brain. But go to work. If that means you're allowed a 50-meter walk or whatever they said you're allowed from home, leave the door, go out, come back, put the key in the door, walk in, set up a routine, make yourself a coffee, take it to your desk, set those parameters so that you transition. And I mean, you speak on lots of stages and stuff. I said to them, like, do a little bit of on NLP and fire an anchor that sets you, like, this is your work anchor. What is it going to be? And have a little routine that puts you in work. And then you've got a routine that puts you in transition to play. Otherwise, you'll be sitting there at 1 o'clock in the morning, still tapping away, doing the same work that you should have done before lunchtime, because you didn't set yourself the task soon enough. You go.
Yeah, look, the way you, as a designer, work with a homeowner or a potential homeowner and take all of their crazy ideas and help them form it into a structure that will make sense and work and all of that is really what we do as business coaches with you and your business. We take all of your crazy business ideas and you go, I want to do this over here and this over here and this over here. And we know in our head, the same as you do when we're designing a house, we're sitting over here going, yeah, we'll entertain your stupid shit idea about that, but eventually we will quash that idea and you are not having a bathroom out there hanging off the cliff. So with a business owner, you think of a coach as your designer to help you design the business you want and build the business you want. And, when you're designing a house, it's got to have the plumbing and the electrical in the background. Well, we know with a business, it's got to have the systems and so it's like we're almost the same, but in different fields type thing, in that wrangling you to get you to do it. Now, the challenge with coaching a business is that we don't get to bring in as many professionals. It's not like building a house. The homeowner knows that they are not laying the plumbing type thing. They know that from day one. Whereas when I coach you in business, you're like, well, I'll do the plumbing. No. We're going to let go of that. We're going to hire a professional marketing person to do the marketing for your organization. Yeah, but I want to do
renovating. Can be more like renovating than designing when you're making it. And Adrian and I often will be, sharing stories and going, oh my God, I do exactly what you do, but over here, and he, and vice versa. That's very cool. Hey, but on that, I actually do have to go, so I'm going to have to catch up on this recording of the rest of this. Really lovely to meet you, Brad, and really appreciate it to be able to say.
Be well.
Thanks, Becky.
Bye for now.
Love you. Bye.
Yeah, it's interesting. By the way, when I leave, I hope you don't say that.
Love you, Brad.
When, like Beck mentioned, renovating a business, in a lot of cases, I sort of look at a business in most cases as a bit more of a knockdown, because it's like we've got to repair all the problems first, and to renovate. You know how sometimes renovation is harder than knocking it down and starting from scratch.
And you don't know what you don't know yet. You keep unearthing layers and you go, oh shit, we need the engineer back here, or oh, we need this because of the fact that we're unearthing depth of
what
stuff.
We try and do with a business owner is say, well, okay, give us that end picture. What does it look like? Because my definition of a business is a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you.
Right? That works without you. So then go back to the Peter Lick. The business would work without Peter Lick, although it wouldn't in that case, but the model would work.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. We could use that model for any photographic artist, whatever type of field. But The thing that we're looking for ultimately is to build a saleable asset with a business. We're not aiming in business to just create a cash flow. We're aiming to build something that can be sold to somebody else, right? Because there's no use if let me be really blunt. Two things I'm going to be blunt about. Number one, there's no use working all your life to build a business and then just having to shut it down. That is just, there's too much stress and energy to go into it. You may as well work for someone else. Okay. If all you're doing is building cash flow out of it, you may as well just work for someone else. Less stress and sometimes more money, type thing. Yes, you get more freedom with your own business, but do you really is the other question, because sometimes you get less freedom running your own business because you're the only one that can't leave for a vacation type thing. Yeah, everyone gets 4 weeks a year. No, they don't.
I always think, in architectural firms, if you've got, say, let's just say you've got 10 projects, you've got 10 very different bosses who are making your paycheck up. And each one of them has a personality. Each one of them has a set of demands. Each one of them has whatever their thing is. And so you're reliant on 10. It's good to have 10, because if you're relying on one, it could all fall over because something goes wrong. But generally, you're reliant on those 10 people to keep your cash flow coming in.
Yeah.
And you keep
But 10
them
is,
working.
as you said, 10 is better than 1. I'd rather have 100 if you lose one, you still got 99. I'd rather have 1,000 if you lose one, you still got 999. Yeah. But that's ultimately where the game needs to be played. So, the second thing I wanted to be blunt about is, if I went and built a great restaurant, right?
Hopefully you
built
have
an amazing, we just sold out of one, and we just built another one that we're going to build into a chain. Yeah. And the reason I say a chain is because what's the use of designing this amazing restaurant, getting it all correct, and doing it only in one spot?
Yeah. That's ego to do it in one spot more than to go and let everybody experience it.
It's built around you too, in that case. Like for me with Action Coach, and people say you can't do that with an architectural firm, or you can't do that with this. Absolute rubbish. Absolute rubbish. I'm living proof of the fact that with 1,000 offices around the world, or just under 1,100 now, doing business coaching, from me being the founding partner, I could have sat there and said in my office on Coronation Drive in Brisbane and said, you know what? I'm the only one in the world that can do this. And I would have had a great little business in Coronation Drive in Brisbane, coaching business owners for the rest of time. But what I did is I worked out how to systematize it, how to build it into something that works without me, how other people who could be trained and educated, given a certain background, could be trained and educated to do it as good or better than me. Yeah. And that's a big part of the success for me, is working out how can I train other people to do it as good or better than me. Yep. And the brand isn't necessarily the person, the brand is the brand. And that's what you look for. And so oftentimes in a small business, we do use ourselves as the brand. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Paul Newman being on the front of Paul Newman's,
Newman's
salad dressings.
It works.
It's an important thing. I'm not saying don't use your story, but don't build it around you. I remember being early on in business, and I made the mistake. I'd say to customers, listen, I'm the owner. I'm always here. Call me anytime. And guess what they did? They called me anytime. It's some of those things that we make those mistakes, and later on we learn. I remember wearing it as a badge of honor as a young man, thinking, oh, look at me. I work 16 hours a day. I work 6 days a week. I had to sleep in my office. I'm so hard working. Eventually I worked out that the point is, the business is a vehicle to provide for my lifestyle. My goal is not to be at work all the time. My goal is to do work that provides for me to go and do the other things and live that lifestyle.
I think one of the things there that you said, which was really stuck in my mind, was this difference between having something you can sell and cash flow. And, is it a cash flow vehicle? So I look at a lot of architectural firms, and I look and there'd be, I don't know, 3 or 4 different partners. And then with that, you might be able to buy a partnership if one of them leaves. The other is cash flow is what they're looking for in that business. They're going, okay, how do we have this ongoing cash flow? And everybody's living off the cash flow. and doing separate things, building their wealth assets, etc.
Well, I mean, I'll be very blunt about wealth. Wealth is about capitalization events. And what I mean by that is selling the business or pulling cash out of the real estate. So you capitalize and then reinvest that capital, having the capital working for you.
Yep.
If I've paid off my house, there's no capital working for me. It's not doing anything. It's just sitting there type thing. It'll grow by a few %, but it's not working for me.
So then you're better off to leverage it.
Elon Musk wouldn't be the richest man in the world if he didn't sell his first venture for a couple of hundred and then take that money and go and invest it in 3 other entities type thing. But it's those capitalization events that creates wealth, even though that's nothing to do with today's subject. I've written a whole bunch. I wrote a book called The Wealth Coach, a Billionaire in Training. The Wealth Coach actually wrote for kids because I have 5 kids. It was like, how do I teach them about wealth and have them understand, what it takes to create wealth out there in the world? I don't think many people understand money. They don't study it, and therefore, money becomes their master instead of them mastering money. So
I think that's so true. So true. I've got a question because I know we have to wrap up because you, of course, are a busy man, as am I. And I would love to ask you your favorite space in your own home, what emotion it evokes, when you use it, and why.
There's 3 favorite spots I have in my home. My top one is my top deck. It's a 3,500 square foot deck that has about an 80-foot long bar that's made of honey onyx, backlit honey onyx. We sit up there, it's open air on one side. We have a teppanyaki grill over on one side of it in one of the turrets. And we have a cigar smoking high top fire lit table on the other side to sit up there. And we have a lot of, I love it because we entertain. Everything I love about my house is where we entertain, because that's what my wife and I love doing. Then the second most favorite is my downstairs bar. Also, the top bar is known as the Onyx Bar because of the honey onyx stone that is everywhere around the fireplace, all over the place. The pool is known as Cheeky's Bar and Grill. I have multiple grills out there, but we also, I have a big lazy river, and there's a grotto inside the lazy river. There's waterfalls and slides and a big lap pool in the back. But there's a swim up bar, and and there's a beach area for the little kids, and the swim up bar. Everyone ends up at Cheeky's Pool Bar and Grill. Whether you're serving from behind the bar or drinking in the pool. It's a lot of fun in summer. And it's kind of weird because those 2 favorite spots, one of them we shut in the winter because it's too cold, the pool, and the other one we shut in the summer because it's too hot because it's open air up on the top. The final one is it's my down under bar, and it's next to my wine cellar. My wine cellar is a 10-person dining room with all of the wine surrounding us and has fans in there so we can have a cigar after dinner type thing. And we'll usually have a 5-course dinner because there's 5 couples, and each couple has to pick the wine to go with each
each course.
of the courses during the night. So
I love it.
And then we mosey on out to the bar after that and have a whiskey or a rum.
I've got to say, like when I was designing Bruce Campbell's house, we have the 42 bar, we have the theatre bar. I'm trying to think what that one's called, and we have the swim up
he
bar.
named them all. He learned that one from me.
I was about to say they're fully branded, and I should have known that you had the multiple bar thing. I remember saying to him, Bruce, is this a drinking problem? He said it's a walking problem. He also said
my rule was it can't be more than 100 feet to the closest bar. So
and
we have 7 bars. I have 5 full bars and 2 half bars in my house. So we entertain though. That's what it is, Adrian. It's not about just
it's about
it's about
drinking.
entertaining.
It's about
and part of that is grabbing someone a glass of champagne, and I don't want to have to run to the other end of the house. I mean, it's under roof. We're 32,000 square feet, so I don't want to have to go to the 4th level of the house to go and get something. I want to just wander over and grab it.
Yeah, I totally.
But I'll tell you 3 things I put in the house that everyone thought I was crazy for that ended up being perfect. Number 1 is a walk-in refrigerator.
Yep.
Those saves us all the time. Number 2 is a laundry chute, because we're a 4-level house. It's like everything gets thrown in the chute down to the laundry, and magically it reappears in your house in the thing at
Yeah,
some point in time.
somewhere something happens to it and it comes back.
Yeah, it comes back, and it comes back beautifully, and everything is right there. And the other is the circular staircase in the front, which has beautiful like hand-blown glass chandeliers. But the windows, I made them reflective windows. And so those chandelier glass-blown things, whenever you see them from inside, it looks like there's 100 of them because of the way it reflects in the
Fabulous.
windows. So,
Just by mirroring out the glass so that at night it reflects it back to
very
you.
low level of very low
Yeah.
level of tint
Yeah.
that mirrors back in.
What a lovely idea. It certainly just, it leverages it and it accelerates it and creates more of a spectacular outcome of it. Brad, fantastic. I so appreciate your time. Really fantastic. I've got 3 pages of notes here. I would suggest to everybody who's listening to this podcast, go and check out Action Coach for starters. Look if you could use an action coach in your business. Go and read Brad's books. You'll only have to, Google his name. And with Googling his name, you will find all the books he's written. He's got more than 7 touch points or 7 hours worth of content online.
Yeah, the YouTube channel. Channel's full of stuff. So,
and look into what your business is doing, and do you need to renovate it? And I would suggest whether you need to knock it down, whether it's a clean start as well, because I think that's a really valid point. Taking a point and making a clean start with it. Like you sold a restaurant, you bought another restaurant. Yeah, or created another restaurant. So thanks so much, man. Really appreciate
thanks,
it.
Adrian.
Enjoy Vegas.
Keep on designing.
Cheers,
Designing,
buddy.
my friend.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning into our conversation. I hope it left you both informed and inspired. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen. And please don't hesitate to share your design thoughts with me. It's always a joy to hear from you. If you're like me and crave a deeper dive into design thinking, coupled with a love for travel and adventure, consider one of my architectural adventures. Join me and some of my wonderful design friends and embark on a journey of a lifetime. Apply for an unforgettable design experience at adrianramsey.com. With our clients spanning the globe, I firmly believe behind every great project are great people. If you're a great person and seeking to turn your dream into a reality, I'd be honored to design your home with you. Why not join the ranks of our exceptional clients? And let's make your heart sing. Reach out to me at studio@ardesignhouse.com. That's studio@ardesignhouse.com. And let's get a conversation going and make your heart sing.